Ode on Melancholy, Sadness. In the first stanza, the speaker addresses those who are going through melancholy, depression, or sadness not to choose committing suicide. He mentions the ways by which a depressed person can turn around suicide. He advises them not to take any poisonous substance in order to forget their sorrows by mentioning the river Lethe, which in Greek mythology is the river of forgetfulness. Reading says, no, go not to Lethe. He also advises them not to consume wolfbane, tight-rooted, for its poisonous wine, or no suffer thy pale forehead to be kissed by nightshade. He also mentions that they should not let the Betty or death, mole or owl to become their psyche. That is, they should not allow images of death and decay to corrupt their minds and souls. The speaker believes that one sorrow after the other contaminates the soul. In the second stanza, the speaker suggests that when confronted with the melancholy fit or sadness, the individual should find comfort in the morning rose, a rainbow, a bouquet of peonies. If a lover is angry with a partner, the reader is advised to take her hand, let her rant, and gaze straight into her eyes. Or if thy mistress some rich anger shows, imprison her soft hand, and let her rave, and fit deep upon her peerless eyes. In the final stanza, the speaker refers probably to the angry mistress mentioned above, and points out that even though she is beautiful, her beauty will fade in the same way that love fades. Beauty that must die, and joy whose hand is ever at his lips, bidding adieu and aching pleasures nigh. The speaker supposes that the very temple of delight, melancholy, has its own shrine. The temple can only be visited by those who understand that pain and sadness are always linked with pleasure and delight. Keats uses that metaphor of beating into joy in order to taste the sadness and the misery that lies within pleasure. The poem begins with a warning for people suffering from sadness or depression not to involve in consuming drugs that can make them forget their worries or try to commit suicide. They should reduce their sorrow by admiring or looking upon objects of beauty, such as the morning roses, peonies, rainbows, and even the beautiful angry eyes of a mistress. The speaker also mentions that pleasures, delights, and joys are intricately intertwined with sadness. Therefore, positive emotions implies the presence of negative emotions, and vice versa. Rather, feeling downcast, Keats encourages the reader that during moments of melancholy, they should lift up their spirit with positive thinking. The poem begins with a direct address to the speaker and recommends ways to escape from pain. The speaker prefers that the reader does not attempt to drown. Although there is pain at the moment, the soul is still alive. Hope. Melancholy is viewed by the speaker as fits that strikes people and comes from heaven. The speaker encourages the reader to embrace melancholy positively because it can imbue an already beautiful with more beauty. A morning and beautiful rose can only be admired for a short period. And this is Keats' emphasis on the ephemeral nature of time and the passing of time, which heightens the perception of beauty. The emphasis also goes to the brevity of life, which must be enjoyed to the fullest. April clouds and rain forms a shoot And the lover is covered with rich anger, suggests that even if the mistress is angry, there is still beauty in her eyes. The line, she dwells with beauty, beauty that must die, reflects both to the mistress and melancholy. This is an indication that sadness is just a state which will fade soonest. It will not last forever. Ironically, melancholy is in beauty, pleasure, joy, and delight, which typifies Keats' stance on the nature of happiness and pleasure, pain and melancholy. It is the fleeting nature of life and beauty that amplifies beauty, because joy is an aching pleasure. The poem focuses on pleasure versus pain, the ideal versus reality. Initially, the speaker offers a prescription for experiencing sadness. First and foremost, melancholy is felt and embraced rather than avoided, dulled and snuffed out of suicide. The speaker believes that nature and beauty can bring lost joy to a human being. Therefore, understanding sadness is essentially to experience joy. To experience anything beautiful or joyful is also to be aware of its fleetingness. Therefore, the temple of melancholy always exists within the shrine of delight. Keats is very cautious not to associate melancholy to any specific event, but indicates sadness more like a fit that can fall and attack anyone at any given moment. The speaker believes that it is preferable to stay alive and experience the reality of pain than to seek a false ideal by dulling one's feelings. Although Keats' other odes are addressed to specific persons, creatures, or objects, it is of primordial importance to note that Ode on Melancholy is addressed to the reader. For this reason, Keats personifies ideas such as joy and delight, with delight having a shrine. The other difference between this ode and the others is that Keats offers direct instructions rather than mere reflections or contemplations. The speaker in the other odes are passive. They simply gaze upon the subject and reflect upon it. In Ode on Melancholy, the speaker addresses the speaker with advice on something more ephemeral than an urn or goddess. He addresses a feeling. The ode is written in 3 stanzas, moving the reader from offering advice of what to do, followed by positive instruction. Keats avoids queries and answers the questions for the reader and himself. Lastly, he delves into why it is important to express both pleasure and pain. They are inextricably bound. Conclusively, the poem is about the transience of beauty, human emotions, and melancholy. The poem also explores the themes of pleasure versus pain and ideal versus reality.